Going live. Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and our guest today is Practicing Musician Care's manager, Margo Tsunemori. Shortly after retiring from her career as a public school music teacher, Margo joined our team in late 2020 to help music programs continue during the pandemic. At this point, Margo knows more about practicing musician than any person other than me, and I must say it's been a true pleasure working with her over the years. How are you doing, Margo?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. This is take two here. We're gonna get it. Woo!
Yeah,
So,
try not to get bogged down in the minutia.
no, not the minutia. That's a hard word to spell too. That's a good spelling bee word, I think.
I would
Yeah,
agree. I would
yeah.
lose.
You would lose?
I would lose. Spelling, not so much.
No. Well, good thing we're musicians then.
Well, and now AI takes care of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love
Spell
Grammarly.
check plus.
Yep, yep. No, I've been uh we should probably talk about music. Huh, let's see. All right. Well, so I like starting off these podcasts asking uh what in your view does it mean to be a practicing musician?
Here's the test. Because who knows, it might have changed from last time. A practicing musician is someone, or yeah, a group even, that is using music as a tool. And a practicing musician is someone who is continuing to do it like throughout their life. It's a nonstop process. You never reach done. You're always a practicing musician, whether you're playing an instrument or singing or listening to music on the radio or going to concerts. Every time you go, it's a fresh experience. Every time you play something, it's a different experience. So you're practicing listening, you're practicing appreciating, you're practicing your musicianship and playing with emotion or dynamics or something. It's just a continual process. And everyone who is somehow involved with music is a practicing musician.
Hmm,
Deep.
I agree too. I agree. Nothing to add. Maybe that they have one of these cool shirts or something. Yeah, we should.
Yeah, that would be the stamp of approval. You are a
Yes.
practicing musician.
We've
Or
won.
I am a practicing musician without the shirt today though.
Yes, you are. I am a practicing musician too, and those are dogs. There's some pretty cute dogs there.
Laurel Birch, she is an artist. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
gonna I'm gonna plug her. She's no longer with us, but she had a degenerative disease that
Mhm.
was like causing her pain all the time. Plug for the fine arts, and her art was her joy.
Mm.
It brought her out of her illness and into a space where she was being able to be creative and express who she was, not just her illness.
Yeah, isn't that so important?
It is. There's other people I've met who have used arts to help pull them out of something. Oh, I don't know, like you, maybe.
Yes, I have. I was deep in a hole, and music. That's the whole reason for doing practicing musician. So, but there's also. I think I've talked about that on a podcast before. So maybe we talk about. Have you heard of Itzhak Perlman?
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty phenomenal story because he has polio. And they
Yes.
said that he would never be able to perform, and he's still in his what 70s now or 80s, and he's
It's got to be like 80s.
yeah, top performers, violin soloists in the world.
Yes.
And it's that determination of I'm going to do this. He can't really move from the waist down, but his fingers fly on the fingerboard.
Yeah, if you were to do just a waist up shot, the his disease doesn't even exist
Hmm.
because it's yeah, you wouldn't be able to look at him and go, oh, there's something going on with that guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is. He's dedicated his life to his music, and you can tell.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, because that's something where he was not he got affected young, but he wasn't born with it. There are a lot of uh genetic diseases, autism or various things that we're now finding music therapy can help dramatically. Do you know much about that?
Some,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those areas that we're never going to like be able to figure it out because now, they've changed the autism spectrum and they're saying certain things are autism that weren't autism before and vice versa. But like I said, everybody's a practicing musician and it's going to reach people differently. And anybody who's ever been in a middle school or high school, well, even beginning band, you can see there's a lot of kids that are attracted to it that we would call um, like divergent learners. They don't sit still. They don't have great focus. They're normally getting into trouble, percussionists and tromboners. Yeah, those are the magnets, I swear. And but they get into their music class, and it's some place where they can move and make noise and produce something kind of amazing. Not saying that they're perfect children when they're in there, but they find this outlet. They have to conform, but they can conform without the rigid structure of conformity that we find, sit in your desk and do your work kind of thing. It's just
Yeah.
a super easy outlet to tap into those kids.
So it's time to put you on the spot. I'm a percussionist. Do I have trouble focusing?
Um,
Maybe.
no, see, here's your problem.
Okay, good.
We-
I was looking for this.
your problem is you get this thing that okay, I'm thinking about this thing, and then you're talking about something else, but this thing is still here. So you're still focused on this while you're still focusing on this. And then sometimes it like ebbs in and out, and you're like, yeah, I'm back. I'm back. You can tell you're gone for a minute, getting a little idea back there. But that's, I mean, a lot of great thinkers. That's how they think. They think by leaving it back there, letting other things take the forefront and let that stew, and then all of a sudden little things bubble into it, and there's that idea. That ah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of composers do too. I think a lot of composers will have like, their idea for a melody, and then they try to put things with it that are different, and then they walk away from it and come back and go, that note. Yeah, it just that
That's the note.
exploration and discovery that you can do with music is cool too.
Yeah, very cool. Uh, well, and I know this about myself. Whenever I'm doing anything, I'm thinking about a million different things at once. It's not just one. Maybe that's what it looks like, but maybe you are uh underselling what
I
is
think
from your
yeah,
mind.
yeah, at
Yeah,
least a million.
at least a million. Yeah, yeah. It's. I don't know if that's ADD or ADHD. I don't know.
You
Uh,
know, the labels, they're good to understand that there's a reason, but I think we get bogged down in the labels and trying to fix what the label says
yeah.
when it doesn't need fixing. It
Mm,
needs people that understand this is how your thinking works. So don't try to make you think from this direction, just kind of scooch it over.
yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think that's having studied psychology and neuroscience, one of the most important things is destigmatizing the labels because it should be guides rather than methods of uh
Categorizing people.
eating. Yeah, well,
Giving them
categorizing and medicating. Yeah.
Medicating and excusing.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
That's the wrong way of going about doing it. And that,
ADHD isn't an excuse. It's a reason you learn the way you learn.
yeah. And we need to tailor it to their learning style,
And they
interests.
need to learn how to tap into what is their strength within their style and use it. It's not just one-sided. One person's working towards getting them to learn, but they got to be figuring out how they can meet them somewhere so that it's successful and nobody's pulling their hair out.
Yeah. Well, so on that note, let's talk a little bit about practicing musicians that you've taught, your career. Go over your career a little bit as a music educator first.
Mm. My first year of teaching after I graduated, well, after I graduated, it was in December, so I worked at the library, and then I took another year of kind of feeling things out. And because, yeah, college is exhausting. I taught in a really small school. It was a K-12. I thought I was going to be a band teacher. I knew I was going to be a band teacher. And they asked me to start a high school choir program with the school had 90 kids, not the band had 90 kids. But most of the high schoolers were actually in band. So they said I could do band 3 days a week and do choir 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting. We'll just say that. Uh, I also taught K through, what did they start? 6, general music, and found out that was where I belonged. It was just the most fun. We could make music, and their joy was just contagious. It was just the thing. So
Yeah.
after my 1 year in that small school where I discovered I wasn't who I thought I was, I came to Elko and began teaching in a K-6 school where I was for the next 30 years. It was K-6, turned to K-4. We did service one rural, one house, one building school. That
Wow.
was, let's see, I think our oldest was 8th grade, because then they would go to the high school after that. And that was a challenge, trying to figure out something for kindergartners that 8th graders would also like to play and do. But
Mm-hmm.
we made it work. Yeah, we made it work. Um, yeah, then 1 year I said, I think it's time. So I retired 2017. Yeah.
Mm.
And then after COVID, I started doing subbing, and now I mainly sub just in music classes, and it's a hoot,
Yeah.
a total hoot. And the things the kids, I tell every teacher that's starting out, write everything down, because you're going to forget these things that are like so funny and so poignant. And I didn't write mine down, and I should have.
I don't know. You don't remember them?
I remember some, but I know there's thousands. I mean, I saw so many kids that, yeah, in a year, it was just so many kids.
Could be a book.
It could be a book of just, yeah. And I taught it a Title I school, 80 some percent free reduced lunch on the wrong side of the tracks, and we had the best families, even if their English wasn't the best. It was mostly Hispanic. Yeah, one day we had a
Mm.
windstorm, and one of my girls yelled, "It's a tomato! I think it's a giant tomato coming!" Because tornado, tomato, they're the same.
That's the Spanish in
Yeah,
yeah, mixing up the R
just
and
just not quite getting the start of it, and then it doesn't quite follow. Yeah.
yeah. Well, so as you've taught, it sounds like 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds for over the course of 30 years at various times. How have you seen that practicing music has changed them and benefited them? in
What, you
ways
want me to cry?
that I am, yes, a little sadistic, I guess.
Isn't
So,
that the Barbara Walters trick is getting them to cry? Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot. We'll just say there's a lot. Let's see. One, oh, my little Erica stuttered, which we know music helps with stuttering.
Hmm.
And I just kept telling her, I don't care what the teachers say, just sing, even if it's just a little song to ask a question, and it'll help train your brain. And her speech therapist is saying the same thing. And she was super shy because of her stutter. At least that's what I'm going to assume. It was because of her stutter, because she just didn't want to talk.
Hmm.
And that was when I was K6 in her sixth grade year. When we did our little program, we always did a little play, a little musical. And sixth grade, she raised her hand when I asked who wants a speaking part.
Hmm.
And so she had a speaking part, and she did not stutter. And I mean, just watching a kid yeah, the success. And yeah. And then she just, went on in school. She didn't do music after that, except that she loved music and kept with, listening and singing along and stuff. She didn't join the music programs, but still, it's what brought her this moment of a whole room full of people clapping for her. And you don't get that with much else.
Well, that's an incredible experience to have facilitated that type of growth.
I don't take credit. It's with the speech teacher and her, but I think sometimes having somebody you don't see all the time, like her speech teacher, she saw every day. She saw me once a week. Just
Hmm.
that one person who would be like, "How's it going?" Just to check in. Just that, not a parent, just to check in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of kids. Let's see. One of mine became a music teacher. A couple others are on that path right now. Um,
Nice.
there's just, yeah. And a lot of them are like, you remember when I'll run into him at the grocery store. Remember when we did that one song? And yeah, there's just that music and memory thing that links things together. They don't remember anything else from elementary school, but remember that one song we did? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just so fun.
And so we should probably clarify this too. General music is not learning to play instruments necessarily. That's
Not
putting in
necessarily.
an ensemble class. Can you explain a little bit about what that type of class is?
The general that I taught was by classroom,
You would go
and
into their normal classroom.
to begin with, I did. I was on the cart.
You had the cart. Okay.
I was on a cart for a year and a half.
And what does the cart mean for people who aren't music educators?
So you get a little AV. Okay, this is gonna date me terribly. So to begin with, I had an AV cart, which was about 2 feet
Huh?
by 18 inches, not terribly huge. Um, and I put my record player on that. It did have an extension cord with a plug-in. And I would go from room to room. I would have to pack. I had a I had an area in the copy room, in the corner of the copy room with the copy machine that was always hot and noisy, where my stuff got to be stored. So I would load up for the morning and go roll my cart. That was a crazy time too, because they had just put in trailers. We had gold booming, and there were trailer classrooms and over 900 students in a school that was supposed to hold 600.
Hmm.
So it was packed rooms, and yeah, carrying record player up the stairs to the trailers. That's that's how it started. I'm not sure how I got off there. Anyway, yeah, so it's rolling your materials from class to class. And lunchtime was the quick switch for the afternoon classes if they changed, and then class to class to class to class. Sometimes the teachers would stay in, sometimes the teachers would leave. You just never knew. The hardest part was you are in somebody else's classroom. the discipline that you expect from them is really hard to implement because they're going to do their classroom discipline.
Yeah.
So once I got a room, which was out in the trailer and wonderful, it was easier to teach my way because I could just do my discipline,
Hmm.
which evolved during the years too, because kids change and ideas change and yeah.
Yeah. And so you would go from class to class, you would do general music.
So it was like out of the books. I would bring instruments. We'd play just, the percussion toys, maracas, triangle, go-go bells, just fun things, experimental things. Lots of rhythm sticks with the little ones.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, just practicing pulse. In the older grades at that time, sixth grade was where they started band, and they had a teacher come down and teach band. And fourth grade is when they started recorders. So fourth, and we were kind of doing into fifth, and then everything changed. But after that, it was always fourth grade that did recorders, which is, in my opinion, I know I've said this before, but a recorder is a valid instrument, and people that complain about the recorder haven't really heard it played. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, kids playing recorder is not the most melodious thing at all times. But if you're listening with the ears of someone who's listening for our little musicians becoming musicians, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's four-year-old, fourth graders, 9-year-olds
Yeah.
playing songs together. And I think I said in the last one, I had like 120 kids playing at the same time, watching a conductor, um, staying together, doing their best. And it does, it sounds amazing. Plus, you got to tell them how to play it right. You just don't buy your kid a recorder and give it to them and say, go play this, because they're not going to play it correctly.
No. Well, and what recorder is typically used in a fourth grade class is this little plastic $3 to $5 recorder from Yamaha, but there's very nice wooden and different material recorders that you can buy for hundreds of dollars that are not just the same size, but they have the tenor recorder. They have different size recorders as well, so you can have a full recorder ensemble. Uh,
Consort.
is that what it's called? Consort.
I was in a recorder consort. Can you tell I'm a little recorder? I would play the bass, big bass recorder,
Wow.
and everything. It was, yeah, in the college recorder consort, and we'd travel to the elementary schools and play, and we'd sound like little Elizabethan musicians, and it was fantastic.
Nice, nice. Well, so okay, so for any parents that are watching this, what advice would you give to them as their children are starting their journey as a practicing musician?
Well, if they are doing recorder, if your school has recorders for purchase, normally the music teacher does know which recorders are going to be better, because they will go search out and find the ones that are better, get them their recorder. Or if they don't have recorders to take home, find them a recorder. Don't buy it off of Amazon necessarily. I'm not plugging Amazon, but like you were saying, the ones you can see through, don't get those plastic recorders. You can get a harder plastic. Yamaha makes a really nice one
Okay.
that aren't ridiculously expensive. You don't need to go into buying wood. So if they're starting with something that's just getting them used to making a noise that's pleasant, then make them play it for you, which sometimes they won't want to do. But ask them, play me what you learned, or play me a song you wrote yourself. They love to do that.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good piece of advice for any starting any instrument is start with student instrument or even renting an instrument because you don't know if you want to actually learn it. And so get something to just test out your love of it. I mean, that's in my experience one of the key components of music. If I have to force myself to do it, which as I practice, sometimes I hit these plateaus and it's like, I really don't want to be doing this right now. But the reality is, I love my instrument so much that I push through it. If I didn't love my instrument, then I wouldn't even push through it. So we got to make sure that people starting out on their musical journey start with something that they love, the sound of, the feel of, the look of, and that will help with that whole process. And then you buy lower quality versions first, or even rent versions. Can't rent a recorder, it's so cheap.
Yeah, yeah, you
For a
don't want
lot of
that.
the other instruments you can rent. Uh, yeah, and so I mean, other than just acquiring an instrument, what advice would you give to people at home who maybe are adults, they've played music back in elementary school or middle school, maybe haven't played music at all, but they do want to start their journey as a practicing musician? This is a different age demographic than we've been talking about so far, but um, I'm sure maybe I should start with, have you taught that age group or been around that type of beginning instrumentalist in your career, or would you, because you play in a community band as well, right?
Orchestra, yeah,
In the orchestra, okay.
yeah, yeah. In fact, there's one girl who hasn't played since I think she's not an adult yet. She's like 15, but she's
Mhm.
not playing with her high school. And I'm not sure if she's homeschooled or not. I haven't didn't get a chance to talk to her because our conductor was on a roll and he wouldn't give us any break time. So she wasn't playing at all. It was her first night that I was there with her.
Mhm.
And she was just kind of fingering along and looking at the music and trying to get it figured out. And I said, Just play. Just play because it's fun and you'll make mistakes and it's okay. You don't have to play loud. Just try. Just keep playing. Just give it a shot.
Mhm.
And it was kind of bizarre because as soon as she started playing, then she was laughing and like more into listening to what was going on. And our conductor does, he says the funniest things. And she was laughing out loud to him instead of like, I swear she was like in a shell, just all covered up in her little shell, like, don't look at me, nobody look at me, don't say anything. And then as soon as she started playing a couple notes and it was like, okay, I can still play a little bit,
Mhm.
she popped out. So, yes, don't undersell yourself. Mistakes aren't bad, mistakes are human, and that's the only way you can learn. If you never make a mistake, you never learn because then you already know it, right? And don't quit, just keep pushing. That's my advice for an adult or older learner is, yeah, have forgiveness for yourself. You're not going to, just because you're older doesn't mean you're going to pick it up and be able to play in 3 weeks. You will be able to play, it's just you won't be able to play at the level you're probably thinking you should play at. But
Mhm.
if you've got a goal, just keep working towards it and don't quit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's key. The taking it in small steps and making sure that we're not jumping too far ahead and practicing bad techniques and developing bad habits that are much harder to break than just developing the, it takes much more time to stop doing something wrong than it does to learn to do something new, even though learning to do something new seems annoyingly long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Um Looking up some different questions here. We've got so many different directions that we can go. Now, maybe we back up even a little bit further. We talked about what being a practicing musician means to you. Like, there's actually kind of two steps in this process. There's the art, but then there's the craft, right? And so practicing musician actually blends them because even the most famous musicians are still practicing pretty much daily. Almost all the top tier musicians I know are practicing daily. The same things that I was practicing when I first started too, like scales daily. every day. It's I've been doing this for 50 years. Not me, but
No,
I've
I
30 years.
don't know. You,
Yeah, I've got this yeah, I don't age, I'm actually
there you go.
79. Yeah. So
Eternal youth of music.
yes, one of the benefits, everybody start playing music because you'll never
Yeah.
get old. Yeah, that's
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell
totally
I'm
true.
117. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, but so what is the difference between that feeling like you're finally an artist or like a musician and then the craft building phase to get to that point?
You kind of summed it up. Yeah. The craft building phase is the scales, the technique, yeah, your tongue sounds like a slug. You're not playing staccato. You need to figure out how you can change that. I mean, speaking of minutia, that's where the minutia is. But yeah, I still don't see them as separate things because even as you are working on the art and practicing those things every day that are part of the craft, you're practicing it to become more artful, more expressive, more technically sound, which sounds like craft, but it's also part of the art. So
Mm,
yeah, craft, I mean if you wanted to say craft is the jumping jacks and the stretches, and art would be, crossing the finish line, winning the race. But you never, I mean, you do win the races. We win little races along the way as you perform and, have a successful performance. Even a non-successful performance is a performance
mhm.
because you learn something, you get clapped for, you get applause, clapped for.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, even the most seasoned, the reason they're still practicing the scales is because they know there's something they could do differently or some way they can get their fingers to move that's going to be smoother, or somehow that they can make it just fit them better, not necessarily sound better because lots of musicians sound great, but sometimes you can listen to a piece of music and you can do the, oh, I know who that is, just because you
Mhm.
know their style of playing the same piece of music everybody else has already played.
Yeah.
But that's part of the art, making the music your own.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, as a drummer, pay attention to a lot of the greats in drumming, and I can at this point tell the difference between drummers on different albums. One of my favorite artists, as you know, is Steven Wilson with Porcupine Tree. He's played with Gavin Harrison and Marco Miniman and Craig Blundell and a lot of phenomenal progressive rock drummers. And you can easily tell the difference between them. It changes the whole shape of the sound. Um, and then even when I'm not listening to Steven Wilson's music, sometimes I'll hear a piece and I'm like, wait, that sounds like this drummer, and I'll look it up and it is that drummer. Uh, it's pretty phenomenal to see how with a limit seemingly when you don't know a lot about music, then it's seemingly like, okay, there's a snare drum, a bass drum, and some cymbals and some toms. But the 12-inch tom can sound 1,000 different ways, depending on the heads used, depending on the tuning, depending on the actual wood that's used, the type of rims, the type of stick that you're hitting it with, or the mallet that you're hitting it with, and uh, and then the angle at which you hit it. Like there's so many different techniques that go into changing the tone quality. And that's what's so exciting about music is there's an infinite things to learn, infinite number of things to learn.
Which is why we're still playing music from hundreds of years ago, because yeah, it's been done, but it hasn't been done the way we're going to do it.
Yeah, because we're
I was
better.
just talking with um, exactly. I was talking with Rod, the strings teacher here, and
Hmm.
he was talking about how he was trying to get some of his older players to stay in orchestra, but kids have so many more things going on with so many different activities, and he said it's just really hard for them to be able to schedule and get their strings in there along with their, advanced calculus and their college biology and all the other classes. He said he needs something that'll just make him stay. And then he was talking about how he likes to take songs and and arrange them so that they fit his group. And we started talking about Take Five, because they were talking about, the kids that were in there were talking about how hard it is to play in 5/8 and 7/8. And he's like, what would be cool is if we took Take Five and arranged it for strings. And it is
Mhm.
not a strings piece. It's a jazz piece. So yes, it's been done a ton of times, but then this one person goes, hey, what if we did this with this piece? And it just flips it. I hope he does it. I hope he rearranges it for strings, because I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, Dave Brubeck he was really edgy back in the day, writing a jazz tune in five. That was not what you did.
No, it was not what you did. I used to do a game with it with my third graders. They had absolutely no problem with it. I learned the game for Take Five, with a group of music educators, general like me.
Mhm.
They had more problems than my third grade did, because as you get older, you are so ingrained with that even 4 beats and 3 beats and 2 beats that you can't, your brain just doesn't want to wrap its head around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The kids, they don't care. It was a game where you grab knee, knee, pass, grab knee, knee, pass, grab knee. They just play. I said, music teachers can't do this as successfully as you guys.
Yeah.
They're like, it's in five. So they've never had that ingrained into them that, this is the way we do it. It's even, it's tempered, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, side
Well,
story.
we talk about that a lot is we teach music out of people in a
Mhm.
lot of our music education, like that top-down academic approach to music education. You want to maybe touch on that for a few minutes?
A few minutes.
I'm going to get you canceled here, Margo. The Music Educator Academic Institution of America. That's not even a thing.
Now,
We're coming
I
down
was pretty
on us
lucky.
hard here.
I was pretty lucky because all of my administrators, they expected me to be doing standards. However, they didn't know what the music standards were. So, they'd look at it. I had one principal who would come in and say, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what any of this means, but the kids are under control, so we're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Fun.
okay. Where
Yeah.
do you go from there? But that's kind of how it feels sometimes when you're given these standards that you're supposed to do that are written by people who've been either out of education for a few years, or they're all, in my case, all like upper people who are like, well, if we could get the elementary teachers to do this. And in some districts, it could work to have all these techniques and skills mastered by the time they leave elementary school. But they'd have to be seeing the kids more than once a week for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think there's a disconnect between what the kids need to be successful humans and be able to decide if they want to go into music, and what the upper levels are telling us we should be teaching these children, and by when they should know these skills. And
Yeah.
yeah, an outline, yes. Standards, yes, but they need to be not by this exact date and time, your third graders should be able to, yeah, do
Hmm.
complex meters in 12/8. And yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, it depends, yeah, school to school, kid to kid. So when it's just a scaffolded, progressive way of teaching where you start with basics and copying and move on to advanced with copying and move on to music reading with copying because that's how humans learn. Then it makes sense, and it doesn't matter what grade they're in. They're going to be progressing on the standards. So
Yeah.
who cares how far or how not far they get? They're going to catch up sometime if they want to be in music. If they
Hmm.
don't want to be in music, like you said, teach it out of them. Drill, 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 drill instead of we're going to play a game. You're not going to know that you're going to learn something in this game, but we're going to play it. And then afterwards, I'll tell you what you learned. That's
Yeah.
the best way.
I agree completely. It's the what I notice is there's a lot of adults that say they don't have any musical uh natural talent, or like, oh, I just don't have rhythm. I don't dance because I don't have rhythm, or I was never good in music class. And it's like, first of all, if you walk, if you watch anybody walk, that's rhythm. I don't see anybody walk with like a step taking 1 second and then the next step taking a quarter of a second and the next one taking 2 seconds. That's not how it works.
Mm-mm.
We're naturally in a rhythm. There's the beating of the heart, there's the way that we talk. If you are watching a film, then the music is going at the same general pace as the people talking. There's a cadence, there's phrasing, there's all these musical components to just
And
natural
manipulation.
life. Yes.
Manipulation of your feelings with the music. Yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a part of your being, absolutely.
Well, and then people somehow get convinced that they aren't musical. And it's
That's
just,
I'll usually say, do you listen to the radio? Do you like any kind of music? Well, I only like, whatever. I only like classic rock. Okay, so why do you like classic rock? Because I can hear stuff. I can hear the guitars. I can hear the drums. So you're not musical yet.
yes.
You can hear the guitars. I mean, you know what you like and you know what you're hearing. How is that not being musical? I don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mindset that somehow has been embedded into people that needs to just be taken out entirely. Anybody can. This is one of the reasons why I started practicing musician, because anybody can learn with the right teaching framework.
And there are some people who are naturally inclined. That's why we're all different. We've got our strengths and weaknesses. And some of them tap into their natural music ability and they take it somewhere. And there's other people who aren't so inclined who tap into their weakness and build on it, and it becomes a strength and they take it somewhere. So even if you don't feel like you are naturally inclined to be a musician, you can still be a musician.
Well, and that's part of the what I've noticed with some of my most naturally inclined students is they practice a lot less. So then they become worse than the people who actually practice.
Yeah, that was me because I had some natural ability to do music, and so why bother doing scales when I can play the not yeah in high school. Why bother with that when I can play the music just fine? Why
Yeah.
bother? And then I found out in college, oh, that's why you bother. Hmm.
Hmm.
But I never went into it being the mindset of I am going to be a great performer. I wasn't even planning on being a teacher. I just knew that I had to have music in my life.
Yeah.
And whatever I did, there was whatever it was, music was always going to be there.
Yeah. Well, so okay, so performance. This is a good topic to stay on for a little bit. But I called practicing musician because of the purpose of learning to play an instrument for some people might be to perform, might be to start a career, might be to become famous even, which that's definitely not the best reason to do it, because it's easier to become famous if you just love doing it than it is because you're trying to become famous. But the other reason is just because it is beneficial and it's fun, and it's community building, and there's all these reasons that you don't have to ever perform. Just learn how to play an instrument. That being said, one of the reasons people don't want to perform is because it's a little bit scary to get on stage. So how do you prepare mentally and physically for a performance with the community orchestra that you're playing with currently?
All right, yeah. I always get nervous just because, I'm going to be on stage. So the first thing I do is make sure wherever my chair is where I can see the conductor,
Okay.
and sometimes that has to move. And then the second thing is I try to make sure that I'm also blocked from at least part of the audience so I can relax a little bit and not feel all the eyes on me,
Yeah.
which, you know, I think it's kind of cheating, but it's just something that I have to do for myself, just to take a little bit of the, literally take the spotlight off of me. And we're
Mhm.
not a huge group, so it can be a little tricky to find a good spot. And then I try to channel my energy, because there's nothing worse than having your body feel that tension. So I send it to my toe. I let my toe wiggle for a while where nobody can really see it because it's normally inside a shoe when I'm performing. Um, and just the positive self-talk, like, if you make a mistake, it's okay. The audience is not going to throw tomatoes. Nobody's going to stand up and point. The conductor's not going to glare at you. Just that positive self-talk, it's okay. We can do this. We've done this before. We'll do it again. Yeah.
Well, I was worried there when you hesitated before answering. I was thinking you were going to say, I'd drink a bottle of Jack.
Never did that before performing. I
I did
have
not.
thrown up though. From the
Unrelated to alcohol.
unrelated to alcohol. No, and I had to do solos.
You got
But I
that.
didn't. There was one solo contest. I did not win it, which was just fine, because then I'd have to play over and over and over and over again. But we had to have memorized a piece, and I did the Mozart Concerto Third Movement, and I did not throw up before I went on. I had to go first. I didn't have time. That's another thing. I always try to go first if I have to do anything by
Yeah.
myself. Yeah, I'm like, let me go first. Let me go first. Let me go first.
Hmm.
But yeah, I got to go first, and I was flat. But when you're nervous, your ears don't work the same either. So you really, and I wasn't as good at getting rid of that tension. So I know that was part of it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Huh. And so you've thrown up before.
Before.
Now the question is like, what are some horrible experiences that you've had during?
I haven't had a whole lot of horrible experiences during,
Oh.
because like I said, I hide. So it's, yeah. And I should be a more confident player. I'm not as loud and bold and brassy. But yeah, my worst one, I think I've mentioned this one about playing in the pit orchestra. Yeah. And the we put together with in college, put our pit together with the performers on the stage, and they had a dance number, and I had a solo, and it said you were supposed to be suddenly slower, and the dance that they had been practicing, they did not do that. And I said, I can't I can't play it that fast. I mean, I tried. I tried and I practiced, and I probably could have if I would have stopped saying I can't,
Hmm.
but I didn't. I kept saying I can't. And I kept saying, but it says in the music, it says to go slower. So yeah, I made them, essentially, little old me made them redo that section. It was like four measures or something. Just this little section of the dance where they had to do something different, and then they picked it back up again. And that wasn't a performance,
Hmm.
but it felt huge because it was all the theater majors up on stage going, "We have to what?" Yeah.
Do you think that's because it doesn't actually say slower? What does it say? What's the word that it says?
Um, I knew you were going to ask me that. Yes, it
What's
suddenly
what's that
slower
word?
is all I can think of is subito, and I know that that's suddenly softer.
No, isn't it retard?
No, because that just slows down.
Oh, it
There's
slows
always a
down.
retard somewhere by the stand,
Yeah,
but
always retard by the stand. Yeah.
but it wasn't retard. It was I'll figure it out someday.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
PTSD over that one.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a terrible experience. What I've learned is that most of the audience is not there to try and judge or hope that we mess up, or if we do mess up, to like laugh at us, anything like that. The best experience or the best, yeah, I guess experience that I had of this was not even when I was playing, but when I went to go see Radiohead at the White River Amphitheater here in Washington. Pretty big outdoor amphitheater. And they played the beginning of a song 4 times and kept saying, "Oh, we messed it up." And everybody was just like laughing, like, "Oh, ha ha ha. Okay, please play it again. We really want to hear your music." And there's no judgment. The story I like to tell about that day is it was, despite the fact that they kept messing up, it was such a good show that there was a guy who is completely naked, being escorted by 2 policemen, screaming at the top of his lungs, "This is the best day of my life."
And let's see, what do you remember? I mean, yeah, it was a great show, but what sticks that show in your head is the fact that there was a couple of things that made it a great show with little bonus features.
Yeah.
And that's I don't consider because in elementary, if you have a perfect performance, that's like what?
Oh yeah.
It's general, it's every single kid. It's not your music maestros, but every single kid. So there's always going to be something that doesn't go right, and it's okay because that's what helps people remember.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a cop now, but Rudolph forgot his lines on stage and
Yeah.
sat there and tweaked his nose and um um that's what people remember. I had a penguin throw up on a bunch of costume penguin threw up on a bunch of people, and remember when that penguin threw up? Yeah, that one was hard to forget. Remember when that
Yeah.
kid passed out off the edge of the stage? Yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah.
That's fine.
But I mean it doesn't things like that don't make a performance worse. So
Mm-mm.
mistakes are not, like I said, mistakes aren't that, yeah. Although sometimes when I'm playing, yeah, I'm telling myself it's not that big of a deal, and yet I'm like, am I hyperventilating?
Yeah. Control. Yeah. So, well, on the flip side, then, what are some of your most memorable moments on stage? What makes it worth?
Oh, I have seriously, I have so many amazing music experiences. That's why I look back now and I'm like, why did I think I wasn't going to go into music? I thought I was going to go into science. How could I mean, I love science still, but how could I not know that I was a music person through and through? Um, so when I was a senior, I was selected to be part of a national band, McDonald's sponsored
Mhm.
All American High School Band, where they chose 2 people from each state to come to New York and march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And then my year, it was also in the just in the Rose Parade, and we got to play Carnegie Hall
Mm.
with Lionel Hampton, somewhere I still have a cassette of our practice with him, and it still gives me goosebumps. It's just, I knew who he was before that, but I mean, just knowing he was huge, he was amazing and famous, and people were like, and here we are just playing music with him, and yeah, and it was us in Carnegie Hall playing music with Lionel Hampton, and we had an audience. I mean, it was just goosebumps, and there's so many. We got to record in London, not the McDonald's band, but another band I was with traveled to Europe, and we got to record in Wembley Hall in a
Wow.
real recording studio, and it had the big tall dividers, see-through dividers around each of the sections, so we couldn't hear each other. And it wasn't a performance, it was a recording, but still, that's one of my most memorable ones, because it was like, this is really hard because you don't
Mhm.
hear all the other parts the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have another 3 or 4 hours. I could just go through all these all these performances, and I include the performances where I was the conductor, which I loved, being the conductor, because then I could turn my back to the audience and I didn't have to look at them, and I could just be the person I am with the kids.
Mhm.
So I could help them do stuff I couldn't do naturally, stand in front of an audience and see them, and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the those are the moments that keep me going as well. I personally love the performance aspect. I love the practicing aspect. I mean, I practice 1 to 2 hours a day still, and I've been doing that for years and years and years. But then getting up on stage is I heard a really good interview with it was actually a comedian, but it's applicable to this. He was going on Letterman for the first time. It was his first public TV appearance, and um, John Travolta was the other guest. And John got off stage, walked up to the queen and said, "Hey, are you on next?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you look a little nervous." He's like, "Ah, I'm really nervous. This is my first time doing TV." John Travolta's like, "No, you've already done it." It's like, "No, are you? No, I'm telling you, it's my first time on TV." And John Travolta's like, "No, I'm telling you that you've already done it. Like you did all the work already. You obviously have gotten to this point because you have some type of talent. You've done all the work. Now just go out there and get your mind out of the way. And you don't have to think about it because the work's already done. Now it's just going out there and enjoying it. And that's how I, fortunately, because I started playing flute when I was 4 and did a lot of recitals, solo recitals with piano when I was 4 to 15. I don't have the stage fright like a lot of people do. Um, and instead, I do feel a little bit nervous, but I just channel it into higher energy performance. That's one of the keys that I've learned actually is that the nerves make you perform better if you
Yeah.
figure out how to work with them instead of try and stop it. So maybe you can talk about that for a minute here. We got only just a couple minutes left, but that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
good place to leave this conversation. What do you do? Are you able
That,
to channel nerves into performance?
more when I'm the leader
Okay.
than as a performer myself,
Hmm.
for some reason. Like I said, turn the back on the audience. Yeah. And
Hmm.
that's what I like to do. I like to bring it out of others rather
Hmm.
than out of myself. I mean, I do enjoy performing. It's a hoot, but I almost enjoy the practices more because of the camaraderie and just yeah. If you're a non-player or you don't sing with a group, you might not know that feeling of being in a room of people that just make music together. There's no other feeling that even comes close to it.
No.
And yeah, you can be, I played in groups where we had a lot of non-English speakers,
Hmm.
and we're looking at the same music, and it sounds good. And they say, music is the universal language, but I think it's more than that. It's not, it's a universal motivator. It's a universal connector. There's just something amazing about the energy you get when you play with a group.
Yeah.
Of course, that's because I'm not a solo person, so I can't expound upon what makes being a solo artist. But thank goodness we have people who love to do that.
Yeah, that's not me either.
Yeah,
But to each their own. Yeah, I mean, with the universe is built in music and harmonic relationships,
that's what I've
frequencies.
always said. Wrote a paper on it.
Who did?
I wrote one of my college papers was on the music of the spheres.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how this whole creation is set up. But we could have a whole podcast just on that. I talked with Brian a bit about that on when I interviewed him on the podcast. But right now we got to get going. We're gonna have to have you back here, Margo, because this was
Again?
good. Again, just every week. I'm only interviewing people. Not gonna interview anybody else.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast one-on-one here and explore a bit of your experiences as a music educator and musician. And really glad to have you on the team as always. Where we will well, let's stop this live stream now.
All right. Well,
All
thanks
right.
for having me.
Yep. All right.